we broke down and, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, Rudy says, well, I've got to hitchhike. But it was all night long that I spent there in the car with those kids. There was 4 or 5 of them, and just in tears, but trying to calm them and keep them, just say a little prayer, it's going to be okay, that kind of thing all night long. And this was between Dateland and Yuma. I don't remember where it was, but all desert. There were no homes. There was nothing there. We didn't see Rudy until it was, I think, about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So we spent the whole night there. My name is Dolores, and I was born in Yuma, Arizona on March 23rd, 1936. Gosh, that's a long time ago, isn't it? But I loved Yuma. My mom's name is Rose, and her maiden name was Preciado. It's a Mexican name, and she married a Higuera. And my dad was James Higuera, and he was born in Yuma also in 1910 on April 14th. He just had a birthday not too long ago. I never forget them on their birthdays. I just love to kind of celebrate in my own heart, They meant a lot to me. My oldest sister was Rosemarie, and say a little prayer for her right now. She's in her deathbed. And my second sister was Lenore. Irene came next, and myself and Jimmy. So there were 5 of us. And they were all born in Yuma. And it was a tight-knit family, happy times. At times were very rough. Oh my gosh, we had a neighborhood, you won't believe this, but we had a neighborhood of about 12 kids, and they ranged anywhere from about 4 years old to 13 or 12, I mean, every house had 3 or 4 kids on our block. And the evenings were a lot of fun because we'd all gather up after dinner and everything. Everyone would play out the sidewalks, skate, and ride bikes and get in the inner tubes, into the tires, not the inner tubes, the tires, and have you roll down. And there was across the street, there was a big hole where they were going to build a home, a 2-story home with a basement. Never got built, but the holes remained. So we'd get down there and, on our on our tires, and it was so much fun. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade, graduated from there, and I loved it. The nuns were wonderful. It was the Immaculate Conception School. And I got treated so well, I think, and I guess that's what we all need when we're growing up. We had so many festivities, belonged to the church choir, and I loved to sing, and so it was great for me. And we'd walk to church with Grandma 2 miles at 8:30 Mass so I could sing in the choir, and those things are so important. And Catholic school just taught me so much. I think that's when I really felt my Lord, He was just, seemed to be with me all the time. I don't know how people live without God. I mean, that's just how I feel. Every moment that I went through in my life, in my married life, in my single life and everything, it would always be there, The Holy Spirit just kind of resonates in your heart, and it had a big impact. Although you lose it, I went into high school then, and high school wasn't Catholic, but I got acclimated to it and everything, and I loved it. And it was a time of popularity that I just went through, and it was, you kind of just distance your way. So faith is just so important, to have that faith in God.
Can you think of a time you were a child where something really hard happened?
Yes, I can, and I don't speak of it very often, but my dad worked for a very influential man. He was senator here in Phoenix, Senator Harold C. Giss, and my dad worked for him and managed the store, and that was good for us, you know. And as he grew into making more money, I guess it was, and maybe it wasn't that, I really don't know. But he started drinking. It was times of depression. The war was going on, and there were a lot of things. I'm sure what he was doing as manager was hard for him. It was just a very difficult time. He started drinking so much that after work he would stop at his little liquor store and bring his little pint or half pint and put it in the toilet, what do I want to say, tank, hide it.
Oh,
It's for Mom. Put it behind the towels, in the medicine cabinet, wherever he could to hide it. But not only that, but I could see that there was a lot of arguing going on. I hated it. There was a lot of pain for my mother. And then he started womanizing, and it was very hard. I think about those times, and they were very hard times. And one time especially was difficult because he was going to beat her up, I guess, and all of us, I just see the picture of all of us climbing on him and trying to separate him from my mother. And that always made a big impression on me. And I think from that point, I felt there was something there, a block, you know, just not that I didn't love him. I loved him, but for being so mean to my mother and all of these things, you know, you grow up with these feelings, and it was very sad. It was a very sad period, I can remember. One of the things I've got to go into is from the time I was freshman in high school. My sister and I got jobs because we were trying to help the family, and got jobs at a drugstore called Sant Drugstore. And we started as soda jerks, they called us, you know, the ones behind the fountain that made the milkshakes and the Cokes and all that. That's how I got started. And that was wonderful. But we worked from 5 to 10 every day, all 4 years of high school. They let us off for any activities. Mr. Sant was so good. And he would let us off Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, you know, because of the weekends, and we had to study, which I was just an average student. I wasn't one of these intelligent, like my husband, anyway. And so working there, I learned how to give change, you know, when I was a freshman and didn't know how to handle money and handle cigars and all that stuff, you know. It was a good experience, but tiring. And it was got tired after a while. It was just too much.
then you went to ASU. So how did that come to be?
Well, I was fortunate, you know, like I tell you, we weren't very well to do, and Senator Giss paid my college. He saw me through college. He was just a wonderful man, and he told Rudy, Jim, my dad, that he would be willing to help him out by sending me to college because he knew how much I wanted to go. And I wanted to be a teacher, you know. And in high school, I had a beautiful PE teacher, Miss Nye, I'm sorry, she's never married. But she was such a wonderful person. And she says, I see the athletic ability that you have, and you've got to go major in PE. And I thought, oh, do I want to do that? I had to really wrestle with what I wanted to do when I went into college. But she talked me into it, and that's how I registered as a PE major. So my freshman year in college was a PE major. And I learned all these different things, from badminton to, you know, tap dancing to, well, you had all these professional activities that you had to know to teach them. So we had different classes. And that was a lot of fun. It was just kept you going. But then I got to thinking, what am I going to do when I get older and I can't teach PE, you know? that was something that was in my mind, and I just, you know, decided to just go into elementary education. So that's what I did.
So how did you get on the cheer squad?
Oh, it was a pom squad. They were different now. Cheer and pom were different. They had cheerleaders at ASU, and then they had, and remember, I went to Arizona State College, not ASU, because I think it was the following year after I left that they voted it to be Arizona State University, you know, but it was a college when I went to school. And that was tryouts for Pom Pom Girl. You had so many girls try out, you know, and there were 10 girls picked, so I was lucky enough to be picked. And I liked it, you know, I liked music, I liked all of that garbage, which I call garbage now because it wasn't really important, but it was fun, you know, just participating in everything. I love to sing, and every time, even in high school, when I got crowned homecoming queen, they asked me to sing, and I sang "I'm Yours," you know, and it was a big thing for me, and I just always loved it. And when Sue leaves the house here, I'll go crazy singing because I love it so much. But I don't find myself singing when she's around or something. And another thing is the spiritual hymns and worship. I have on YouTube, I get Terry McElman's worship songs, and I love to sing those. You know, it's just part of my passion. I guess I always saw myself maybe being a singer, but it never materialized, and I wasn't really paying attention to it materializing, you know, so it was one of those things that you kind of just go with the flow.
They wanted to know what made you fall in love with Rudy.
Oh, in college I met him. Well, I tell them the story that everywhere I went there was Rudy. It seemed like he would show up somewhere, you know, and we finally gave in, I guess, and I started having at the cafeteria. He would come and he'd join me. And it was just, I don't know, there was something about him. He was very, I felt a lot of trust in him, and he was just a gentle person, loved poetry, I loved that. And he was just genuine, you know, and a baseball player, an athlete. Oh yes, you know, that went over very well. And so it was, I think that little by little we started seeing each other and going to the VI and going to, you know, places, and so it was very nice. And he wrote me the most beautiful letters. I still have a lot of them, and you know, he could just express himself so beautifully. I always felt so, you know, I don't know how to talk like he does. I don't know all those, but it didn't matter. It was, you know, he was a wonderful man. Well, I was shocked, kind of. I was young and ignorant, and walking into his mom and grandmother's house was quite a shocking thing for me. Because you walked into the bedroom, the first thing that you hit was the bedroom, and next to that was a small living room, and next to that was a kitchen. And the kitchen, and then there was a dining room table, and there was a curtain there that was pulled for Rudy. He had his bed there, and that was where he spent all his high school years, and you know, and I was just taken aback. I thought, gosh, what am I getting into? Isn't that terrible? But you know, you think different things come to your mind. And the two ladies that he lived with were very unhappy. Of course, I was 3 months pregnant, and they weren't happy with me. And so it was a tough first year after we got married, living there in Superior and learning the ropes of a small mining town and people who talk. And, you know, I didn't even want to go to Mass on Easter Sunday because I was pregnant and carrying smock, and people, I had just gotten married, you know, it was crazy. Anyway, And in a little town, this Superior is a mining town, and I think there was 2,000 people maybe. And because Rudy lived, with two ladies and all, they never had a car. They walked everywhere that they went. High school was a good maybe mile and a half to walk to, and then Tilly's work, which is at Save Money Market, was maybe another couple miles, and they'd walk them. Once in a while they'd get rides because somebody would pick them up, but that was their life. And then to go and wash, I had no washer, dryer, or anything like that. So I would have to pack the dirty clothes in a pillowcase, call a taxi, and go to Grandma's house to wash. And this was terrible. And here I am, pregnant and everything, and having to go and do all this. It was quite a struggle. Boy, and see, maybe God was preparing me for all this by giving me so much faith and so much, trust in Him, because those were hard years, very hard. And found out that Rudy never drove, so eventually, once we moved out of there into a bigger apartment or house, we bought a little car from a friend of his, a father really of a friend of his, and bought a little car, and I taught him how to drive. And I had been driving since I was 13. Heck, I drove tractors down in the valley in Yuma, and he, poor man, he didn't. He never had a father, so he didn't drive. So it was an experience, a big experience. And it was even more of an experience when, before he learned how to drive, he was finishing college. He had 6 credit hours to finish, mind you. And we were married, and I was pregnant with Kathy, and I would drive him from Superior to Tempe to go to class, night class, once a week. And I was as big as a house, and I had friends that lived close by there in Tempe that I would go and stay with them until Rudy finished his classes, and then I'd pick him up and we'd come back to Superior. But doggone it, I think that was well worth it. It was well worth the struggle. He got his degree because he already had a job waiting for him in Superior as an English teacher and a coach. They knew him, and that's all he needed to do was complete those 6 hours, and we got that done, and that meant more money for us, and so it was a struggle getting started and getting going. But he did get the job, and he was a baseball coach, and we were on a different, he drove, and it was just growing up really is what we were doing. Mother was in Yuma when I had Kathy, my first. She came in a Greyhound bus. Mom wanted some chamomile tea for, I don't know if she had stomach problems or what, but anyway, the drugstore was about a block up, and sent Rudy up there for some chamomile tea, and what did he comes back and no chamomile. What happened? Well, they don't carry camel's milk. And that's what he had asked for at the drugstore. So that was such a funny thing. We just laughed, and he was embarrassed to go back. He just didn't want to go face the druggist again and ask for chamomile tea. It was funny. But he said, they don't carry camel's milk. So innocent, and oh my God, Mom just about died. So I had the first 2 kids there, 3 kids, I'm sorry. I have to think about it. Kathy and Sue and Bill were born in Superior. David and Michael were born in Globe. Yeah, because I had a doctor friend up there, Dr. Bejarano, and had gone to college with and everything, and he was a doctor now. And so I started going to see him. I didn't want to see any of the company doctors. For what reason, I don't know. I just don't remember. But another struggle was my having Mike, my last baby. And that was a time when we had already moved to Phoenix and were living in a rental. And we moved in August, and he was due in September. And I don't know how we did it. I really don't. It was so hard. And I had all the other kids that time. And I wanted to see Dr. Bejarano. He had been seeing me all 7 months, you know. I wasn't going to not go see him. And Rudy would say, but this is your 5th child, and, you know, going up to Globe, and how do we know if we're going to make it? It was just, well, let me tell you about that trip. It's funny to think about it now. I think, why was I dumb, or was I? Anyway, I wanted to see Bejarano, so I kept seeing him. And then when it came time, I had to call Mom on the telephone and have her come on the bus. And my dear friend who had moved down from Superior also, she was one of my faithful friends, lived about a mile away from us, and said she would pick her up at the bus station. And Virginia had 4 kids herself, but she was going to take care of my kids when I got to go to have Mike. Well, it came time, and we called Mom, and she got on the bus. Of course, she was still traveling when we left. I dropped off all 4 kids there at Virginia's, and along with her 4 kids. And she was going to go to the bus depot and pick Mom up. You can see the whole story. And so Rudy and I take off to go to Globe, and I'm having my pains, you know, going through, dear Lord, just help me make it, because it's going to be easier, or you could get all these feelings. Well, we got there to Superior, and luckily we were almost out of gas. We didn't have a penny in our pockets. We didn't have any money. And luckily we had Guy Bryant, who had a Union gas station there. He was open, and Rudy, he talked to Guy, and Guy said, God, Rudy, get that girl up the hospital, and I'm gonna fill up your tank, and don't worry about it. Well, he knew us very well, so we filled up the gas tank, and we kept on going to Globe. And do you know that from there, I don't remember how long I stayed in the hospital, or if I came home the following day or what. But Mom was at the house. Virginia had brought her home to our house with the kids, and was there when we got back. So, I mean, those were hard times, very hard for us, you know. But I was stubborn. I had to go have that baby in Globe. So I did, and everything worked out beautifully. Thank God. It was just hard, you know, tough trip.
Do you have any traditions from when you were a child?
I hate to say this, but it's tamale making, because that is a big tradition in our house. Every Christmas, we make tamales about a month before and freeze them, you know. And everyone, wherever we can, Mary had it the last couple of times, I think we made tamales at her house. And that is important. And some of the little kids now come up and they try to, about 2 years ago or last year, I can't remember, some of the little kids really went wild. And oh my God, you should have seen the tamales that came out of there. Some of them were this small, and yeah, wiping on the wrong side of the husk. And it was just, you know, but we love to do that. I still love to do that. I get very tired now. It's just part of being old, I guess. But, you know, standing on my legs and having trouble with my feet and legs has been, kind of keeps you from doing a lot of things. But I'll tell you, when I really felt bad was when I had to quit driving. But driving really hurt. You know, when you drive all your life and you need it, and I want to go see, so I can't, you know, you have to come, oh no, okay. You know, different things just didn't. And so I find myself sometimes, I think, quit feeling sorry for yourself. You're lonely. But pretty soon I'll go to one of the kids' games, or I'll go visit someone. It takes care of it.
So does life get easier as you get older?
Yes, in a way, and no, you know. Well, you have to deal with all the aches and pains and all this, and the doctor visits, and, you know, all that to me doesn't get easy. But as you get older, I think you learn wisdom you get as you grow. Wisdom doesn't just come with age, it comes with all your life experiences and everything. And this is important. I think the kids have to know that, just take life as it comes, because that's how it's meant to be. God's put you here, created you. He has the plan for you, and He wants you just to live, with a good relationship with Him. And like I tell the kids now, go with the flow. Don't get nervous. Don't get anxious. And who's nervous? Dodie. And going to Dodie, that was my nickname from little girl. One of my aunts or someone, Mom said, just call her Dodie. And they did. And it stayed with me through high school, through college, through my married life. And here I am, Grandma Dodie.
You have the most beautiful posterity of these people who all look to you as this beautiful matriarch in their family. What do you hope that they remember about you?
I want them to remember me as a spiritual person, a kind person, a loving person. I try to. Nobody comes in that house without getting a hug or a kiss when they leave or something. And trying to be that role model, I try to instill, some of the faith in God and in what He's created and how wonderful they all are, because they're all different too, and they all have their problems. All I pray for daily is for them to have a good relationship with God, to get closer, to baptize your children, do the things, so that I can see you up in heaven, darn it. That's what I want. And I just want them to, they're blessed and they're doing the things. Some of them are going through very hard struggles, and I pray for them all the time. God is great and He knows what He's doing. And I just say, okay, when I lost my mom and dad, it was very heavy for me. Then I lost my husband, and that was another jolt. And then when we I lost my brother. And then we lost little Knox, who was stillborn, to Mike and Shelby. And of course, my dear Anna, at 27 with brain cancer. All those losses, and they make you grow, but you still have faith in God, and He knows what He's doing. He's got the plan for each of us. And I want them to remember that. I want them to get close to Him. I guess I want them to feel like I feel right now, isn't it? That's kind of selfish, but that's what I want for all of them. And some are working at it, some don't believe, and so you just keep on trucking and going with the flow, and I keep on loving them because that's what it's all about,
What does your family mean to you?
Oh, everything. Tell me what my name family means. It's love. Thank you, dear. That's how I see it. Family is love. That's the other word for it, because if you give it, you get it in return, and I've been so fortunate that I have gotten so much love and all throughout my life, and I can't say anything wrong, a lot of things went wrong, but that's life, and you just keep on trucking. But when you have faith, it makes you so strong, and I always felt I was very strong and I could do anything, just because. So God gave me that.
What's one memory that you never want to forget?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard one. It's hard because I think our wedding day, was something, and yet I had little, because I was pregnant and all that, and still dressed in, but I never want to forget that. It was beautiful. And I don't know, I think with each child that's born, I just feel like I don't ever want to forget how that happened, where I just loved them all. And memory of my childhood, it was good. There are so many memories that you can't really pick, one favorite, I don't think. When we first found out at the hospital, well, getting news like that, it's just, you can't even describe the feelings that you go through knowing that you're not going to have a husband in 6 months. It was very hard. And then they told us how it would go by, we'll get hospice to come to the house and, all of everything that was supposed to happen. I had no idea because my mother died in the hospital, and I had no idea how it was going to happen with Rudy. But the process was just heavy. It was just a heavy thing. You spend your time praying and you keep asking the Lord, But I'll tell you a happy time that while he was there, he's Mexican-Irish. He had to celebrate St. Patty's Day. Had made me do the corned beef and the cabbage and everything. And he's in hospice already. And invited Virginia and Will, our best friends, and their son came over in the bedroom, and and brought the Irish whiskey out and everything. And he sat up, and joined everyone and had his little Irish whiskey and had his corned beef and cabbage. We all ate there in the bedroom, and it was just great, because that's something he loved. And so that was our celebration. And that was kind of a little lift during that process, But the time comes and it's just hard. I had Father John come over and gave him his last rites, and he prayed over him, and we went out to the patio, and he brought all the kids and everybody out there, and we prayed then. It was a tough but yet a good, what do you know? What do you expect? You don't expect much. You just go with the flow. And then of course I wish you could have been at his wake. I'm telling you, they couldn't fit the people into the funeral home. And the students that came and spoke and stood up, and what a wonderful teacher, what a wonderful coach, what a wonderful, they were just beautiful things said about him. And that makes you feel so good, and we're still in touch with some of them. And one of them has even taken our last name. Somebody that he got to quit while he was counseling, quit drinking. But friends like that at the wake, it was beautiful. It did my heart so much good to see so many people loved him, You don't really run into that unless something like that happens, I guess. I just want to tell my grandchildren to love their children as much as possible in every way, to show them, to be a good role model for them, and to take them to church and to learn about God, and so that they can grow up strong in their faith. And I think that's so important. And that's one of the things, if they're not baptized, please baptize them, get them, God is everything. God is number one. Don't forget that without him, we're nothing. He created us. He's the one that's got our plan for our life, and he's the one we have to love and respect, worship him, praise him, talk to him. He talks to me, so he'll talk to you. It's funny how your heart works, or your soul, maybe. But I can ask him certain things, and it's like he'll come up with them, And so I think that's the main thing I want, is the relationship with God. Not just my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, but my children also. And most of them, I'm blessed that they are very close to our Lord. So I just thank God for the beautiful family I have, and all the children, and how much they give me, the love that they give me, and the uplift that they bring to me, because I'm an old lady. But always respect your elders. Just don't ever forget that. be respectful of people and love them, and don't always want to be number one. Number two's good. I just love my family and want the best for them, and I ask God to bless them every day. That's all I care about now, because I'm on the last lap, and I just want them to know that, how much I love them and want them to love God.
Would you like to say a prayer for them on film?
I have a prayer of hope that I love. It's God of love and mercy. Please ease my burdens, calm my anxieties. And Father, help me to trust and have more confidence in you. Bless me each day with your healing grace, with health in mind and body. And Lord, give me a heart full of love and peace. And grant me, Lord, the courage to be able to love you more, because with your help I can conquer anything. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
You can go whenever you're ready.
May the dear Lord bless and keep you, whether near or far away. May you walk with sunlight shining in your day to day. May you walk with sunlight shining and a bluebird in every tree. May there be a silver lining back of everything you see. May you fill your hearts with gladness and a bluebird in every tree. May there be a silver lining back of every cloud you see. Fill your dreams with sweet tomorrows. Never mind what might have been. May the dear Lord bless and keep you till we meet again.
Oh my
My
gosh,
voice,
I have to give
my
you a
bass is-
hug. You made me cry.
Thank
Oh
you.
my
My voice
gosh.
isn't the same. I never was an alto. I was a soprano. But with age,
Gosh.
your
Well,
voice just goes down.